Well, hi, all my friends. Happy Monday to you. Hope everything is well where you're at. One of the things I just wanted to put out there today is for us to, and for myself as well, to remember that we are all love, and that our souls and our spirit is made from God's love, and we all are a part of God. And if God is love, then we are as well. And so just remember that. I hope that this reaches somebody that needs to hear it today. So we stopped off in the book of Swedenborg Sampler, and we're in the portion where he's talking about heaven and hell. And we stopped on page 47, so I'm going to just start with that. I also did a few songs. You can check them out. I'm learning some new picking style. I'm learning to do more melody with chord work. So I redid Autumn Leaves. I'm still working on that. It needs to be a little bit more fluid, but it gives you an idea where I'm at if you want to listen to it. I did a cute song, island song, and it was just, how I was feeling at that moment, I guess. Just very fortunate to be where I am, living near the Pacific Ocean, and just really loving where I'm at, and here for a reason. So yeah. So anyway, just thinking about those types of things. I listened to a few near-death experiences this past weekend. Very interesting things that people have experienced. And please know that you don't have to have that kind of experience to experience the Lord and His love and the oneness that many of these near-death experiencers felt. They felt they were one with everything, they knew everything. And you don't have to feel that way yourself. You can pray and meditate, be quiet, and just contemplate and think on Him. And you can have that peace, that overwhelming peace and love happen in your own life at that moment. So when we stopped off with Swedenborg, he was in Matthew 25, 32 through 46, okay? And he was saying that when the Lord is predicting the last judgment, he recounts only deeds and says that people who have done good works will enter into eternal life, and that the people who have done evil works will enter in damnation. And we can see that our outward life consists of our works and deeds, and the quality of our inner life is manifest through them. So, works and deeds, though, does not mean works and deeds solely by the way they look in an outward form. It also includes their deeper nature. Everyone knows, really, that our deeds and our works come from our intention and thought, for if they did not come from where they would be no more than motions like those of a machine or robots. So a deed or work in its own right is simply an effect that derives its soul and life from our volition and thought, even to the point that it is a volition and thought in effect, volition and thought in an outward form. It follows then that the quality of the volition and thought that cause the deed or work determines the quality of the deed or work. If the thought and intent are good, then the deeds and works are good. But if the thought and intent are evil, then the deeds and works are evil. Even though they may look like an outward form, even though they may look like in our outward form. Okay, so thousands of people can behave alike. That is, they can do the same thing. So much alike that in outward form one can hardly tell the difference. Yet each deed in its own right is unique because it comes from a different intent. Take, for example, behaving honestly and fairly with an associate. One person can behave honestly and fairly with someone in order to seem honest and fair for the sake of self, to gain respect. Another person can do the same for the sake of worldly profit. A third for reward and credit. A fourth to curry friendship. A fifth of fear of the law and loss of reputation in office. A sixth to enlist people in his or her cause, even if it is an evil one. A seventh in order to mislead, and others for still good reasons. But even though all of the deeds look good for behaving honestly and fairly towards a colleague is good, still they are evil because they are not done for the sake of honesty and fairness. Not because those qualities are loved, but for the sake of oneself in the world, because these are loved. The honesty and fairness are servants of this love, like the servants of the household, whom their Lord demeans and dismisses when they do not serve. People behave honestly and fairly toward other colleagues in a similar outward form when they are acting from a love of what is honest and fair. Some of them do it because of the truth of faith or obedience, because it is enjoined in the word. Some of them do it for the sake of the goodness of faith or conscience, because they are moved by religious feeling. Some of them do it out of thoughtfulness towards their neighbor, because one's neighbor's welfare is to be valued. Some of them do it out of goodness of love for the Lord, because what is good should be done for its own sake. So too, what is honest and fair should be done for the sake of honesty and fairness. They love these qualities because they come from the Lord, and because the divine nature emanates from the Lord is within them. So if we see them in their true essence, they are divine. These deeds or works of the people are inwardly good, so they are outwardly good as well. For as already noted, the nature of deeds and works is entirely determined by the nature of thought and intent from which they stem, and apart from such thought and intent, they are not deeds but works, only lifeless motions. And we gather from this that is meant by works and deeds in the word. Since deeds and works are matters of intention and thought, they are also matters of love and faith, to the point that their quality is the quality of their love and faith, that it amounts to the same thing, whether you talk about our love or about our intention, whether you talk about our established faith or about thought. Since we are love, we are also intent. And what we believe, we also think. If we love what we believe, we intend it as well, and do it to the extent that we can. Anyone can realize that love and faith dwell within our intention and thought, and not outside of them, since intent is what is kindled by love. Thought is what is enlightened in matters of faith. This means that only people who can think wisely are enlightened, and depending on their enlightenment, they think what is true and intend what is true. They believe what is true and love what is true. We do not need to recognize, though, that volition makes us who we are. Thought does so only to the extent that it arises from our volition, while deeds and works come from both. Or, in other words, love is what makes us who we are. Faith does not only to the extent that it arises from love, and deeds and works come from both. It follows from this that love or intent is the actual person, for the things that come forth belong to the person they come forth from. To come forth is to be produced and to present in a form suited to the observation and sight. So we may gather this is what faith is apart from love. No faith at all, only information with no spiritual life in it. The same holds true for the deeds apart from love. They are not deeds or works of life at all, only deeds or works of death containing some semblance of life derived from love of evil and faith in what is false. This semblance of life is what we call a spiritual death. We should realize as well that we present our whole person in our works and deeds, and that our volition and thought, or love and faith, that our inner constitutes are not complete until they are embodied in the deeds and works that are our outer constituents. These latter are in fact the outmost forms of which the former find definition. And without such definitions, they are like undifferentiated things that do not yet have any real presence, things that are therefore not yet in us. To think and intend without acting when we can is like a flame sealed in a jar and stifled, or it's like a seed that's sown in the sand, doesn't grow but dies along with its power to reproduce. Thinking and intending and doing, though, is like a flame that sheds its light and warmth all around, or like a seed sown in the soil that grows into a tree or a flower, becomes something. Anyone can see that intending and not acting when we can is not really intending. Loving and not doing good when we can is not really loving. It is only thinking that we intend and love. So it is a matter of isolated thought that disintegrates, and vanishes. Love and intent are the very soul of the deed or work. It forms its own body in the honest and fair things that we do. It is the sole source of our spiritual body, the body of our spirit. That is, our spiritual body is formed entirely from what we have done out of love or intent. In a word, everything of our character and our spirit is embodied in our own works and deeds. We may gather from this what is meant by the life that stays with us after death. It is actually our love and our consequent faith, not only in theory but in act as well. So it is our deeds and our works, because these contain within themselves our whole love and faith. There's a dominant love that remains in each of us after death and never changes to eternity. We all have many loves, but they will all go back to our dominant love and form a single whole with it, or compose in it the aggregate. All of the elements of our volition that agree with our dominant love are called loves because they are loved. These are deeper and more superficial loves, love that directly unite, loves that are indirectly united. There are close and more distant ones. There are loves that serve in various ways. Taken all together, they make a kind of kingdom, and they're actually arranged in this way within us, even though we are utterly unaware of their arrangement. However, the arrangement becomes visible to some extent in the other life because of the outreach thoughts and affections that depend on it. And I'm going to stop there. 52. Okay, I hope that you have a blessed week. And I hope all is well with you. Leave me a thumbs up, like, and subscribe only if you like it. And if you have any comments that you'd like to share with me, please do so. I do enjoy hearing from you. And I thank you to all my new subscribers. For whatever reason you've come to this channel, know that it's not just by happenstance. Okay, God bless you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.